Hello and welcome to the video solution and explanation of AP Statistics 2012, number one. So this problem right here is about reading scatter plots properly. There's a couple little things going on with it, but mostly just reading scatter plots. So let's get to it. Scatter plot below displays the price in dollars and quality rating for 14 different sewing machines. So we have the price of the sewing machine versus its quality rating. There's little things I noticed. This starts at 0. This one does not, this scale. Sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not, but I always like to look at the scale and the units so I know what I'm talking about. Part A says, describe the nature of the association. Oh, there's keywords, describe, association. My immediate thought is big three, or CUSP-S, some of us use, between price and quality for the sewing machine. So they want to talk about the distribution, just explain it. Okay, so what's the center? When you're talking about bivariate data, the center is the trend. Is it positive or negative? In this case, and the way you kind of always want to look at it and word it is, in general, as X increases, so as the price in dollars increases, the quality rating also increases. So I'm looking at this trend. Now there is this unusual point. I'm seeing that this is curved a little bit, but I'm going to get to all that when I talk about unusual features, right? So center is the trend. The shape, well, yes, this doesn't look very linear. It looks kind of curved. I wouldn't say linear is a good model. And then the spread, there seems to be a little bit of a difference between the lower numbers and the upper numbers, and this I would talk about for sure. Anything less than 500 has a larger spread than anything bigger than 500, which tends to be bigger than 65 as a quality rating. But below 500 has a quality rating anywhere from 40 to a little over 80, like 82. So you do want to talk about those three, but then we have unusual features, and this graph does have unusual features that you want to mention. You want to say that it doesn't look linear, it looks curved, it looks like it's kind of broken into two groups, or maybe this lower group and this upper group, and you can talk about domain to describe those. And I might say that there looks like there's kind of a ceiling on the quality rating maybe. I might call this an outlier, definitely an influential point, a point that could influence. If I put a linear regression on here, it would really influence where that line was. It would bring it down. So I'd bring it down here instead of keeping it up here. So you want to talk about those big three, and then also the unusual features of it's kind of curved, or at least we have an influential point that could change my linear regression if I try to put one on there. Linear regression is probably not a good fit the way the graph is now. Okay, let's actually look at the scoring guide for that so you can see what they said. So it says weak with positive association. Oh, I should have mentioned that, right? This is weak, of course. I kind of just talked about the two groups being broken up. It is positive, right? And positive association. Doesn't appear to be linear. They mentioned that. And then they use that domain of 500. So anything less than 500, there's a very little association. And then more than 500, it seems like there's a overall association to be positive there, but that's causing the whole thing to be overall. So they're kind of really just focusing on this domain thing. They didn't really add in how much of a range, or they didn't talk about this influential. But I think you cover all three, and you talk about unusual features, right? Like domain splits or influential points. Okay, part B, one of the 14 sewing machines substantially affects the appropriateness of using a linear regression model to predict quality rating based on price. Report the approximate price and quality rating of that machine and explain your choice. Substantially affects the appropriateness of using linear regression. So this is why they didn't talk about it in part A, because they're going to talk about it in part B. So this point right here, obviously, is the one that's the influential point. I know some people might say these or this one maybe, but remember, any data point that's kind of in the middle of your set is not as influential as one that's further away from the mass of your set. So the further away you are, it's like a teeter-totter, the more influence it's going to have. So this is the point they're talking about. You just have to say that's like 2200, and 65 for quality rating. And they write a lot on this one because they want to talk about how it's influential. Right, so the one that would affect it the most would be at 2265. There's some, some at the below the 500 that have a high quality rating that you could say. That's kind of what we talked about. This one is the most expensive of all and has relatively low quality, which is consistent with a non-linear model, right? So that's kind of the one that makes it give that curved pattern. If this one wasn't there, you might think this is linear still, although these two also kind of make it look curved a little bit, right? This is a hard one to describe. It really is. It's one of the more difficult ones. But the one that's further away is always the one you're going to pick because it's the most influential. Okay, part C. So they go a little bit further on it. Chris is interested in buying one of the 14 sewing machines. He will consider buying only those machines for which there is no other machine that has both higher quality and lower price. So nothing that has a higher quality and nothing can have a lower price than the one he picks. So on the scatter plot, circle the data points corresponding to machines that he'll consider buying. So I just want the least expensive point, which is this one. That's the least expensive. There is no sewing machine that is cheaper than that one or lower than that one in cost. And then I want the best quality one, which is this one. So there's no point that is a higher quality than that one, which is what they're saying up here. This is totally just being able to read a graph and interpret what they say and read the graph. So you have 2 points there, one for the lowest cost and one for the highest quality. And that is the end of that. Let me show you their solution. There it is. Yes, those are the 2 points you circle, right? They write it out, at 165. There's nothing that, cost a quality rating, right? It talks about a quality rating of 81, 82. There's nothing higher than that. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.